Hey everyone, Jeff here. Got 3 breathing techniques to immediately reduce stress and anxiety today. And this is the beginning of an article series exploring the therapeutic benefits of breathwork and meditation, specifically mindfulness meditation. So if you'd like to stay updated, please consider subscribing. Then again, if you're listening to this, chances are you already are. So just ignore that. Anyway, let's start. And let's start. I'm gonna start with my 4th combat deployment. On my 4th deployment, my team had primary entry on a target in Iraq. We were targeting an AQ, an Al Qaeda facilitator, and whether he was facilitating money, weapons, people, operations, I don't remember. It was 2008, but just suffice to say, he was just another shithead. Okay. And I remember approaching this target more nervous than usual, more nervous than previous targets because, well, one, this was my first time with this assault force at this particular SEAL team. I had done one other deployment with this team previously, but I had been kind of solo. So this was my first time conducting clearance in a way that was slightly new to me. And the other one was the intel that we had on this guy was that he was just a bad dude, so you never know what to expect. Anyway, what I did to regulate my already out of control heart rate was box breathing, mainly because it was the only breathing technique that I knew. And I'll share what box breathing is for those of you who are unfamiliar with it later in this article. But I managed to lower my heart rate to a comfortable rhythm just before making entry. And the team cleared all the rooms in the house except for one. I saw my shooting buddy stacked up on the door. I gave him a squeeze to let him know to open the door and make entry. And as I assumed my position, I noticed a figure standing about 8 feet away from me out of the corner of my right eye holding a weapon. And I knew it was pointed right at me. And I also knew that he had to drop on me. There's nothing that I could have done at that point because action beats reaction every time. And it would have been, I didn't have the time to swing my weapon around, aim, and fire faster than he could on me. So I did the only thing that I could, only thing that I knew to do at the moment was just back out. And as I backed out, he caught me once in the lower left corner of my front plate and then 3 times in the rail of my rifle. He hit me with an AK. And one of the rounds in my rifle shot off the forward pistol grip on my rifle as I was gripping it. It took me a moment to realize what the hell was happening, or at least it seemed like it did, but what they say about time slowing down, it is very, very true. I could relate every single instance of that moment. But ultimately, my shooting buddy saved my ass, and in the end, the bad guy won. I'm sorry, the bad guy lost, the good guys won. So now, in most instances, tunnel vision occurs under extreme stress. There's visual constriction, right? Your visual field narrows. So I would characterize this as extreme for most people, right? However, my body told a different story because I didn't have tunnel vision. And remember, I saw this guy out of the corner of my eye. So if I had tunnel vision or tunnel constriction due to stress, then I would have missed him. So I attribute 2 things to my success here. The first is training, because how you train is how you fight. And I remember being more nervous in training than on any targets overseas. And the second was the box breathing that I did during infill. Breathing saved my ass because it regulated my nervous system from an activated to a deactivated state. And if it worked for me on the battlefield, just think how it can work for you in the workplace, in traffic, at home, or just in everyday life. And also, this experience isn't unique to me. Harvard Business Review shared a story about a Marine who drove over an IED, an improvised explosive device, only to find both his legs almost severed below the knee. But instead of panicking, he remembered a breathing technique. So he did this technique and it allowed him to stay calm, to check on his men, to place a tourniquet on his legs, and to remember to prop them up before falling unconscious, potentially. And had he not done so, he was later told he would have bled to death. So suffice to say, breathing is a thing, and it'll save your ass just like it saved mine and that Marine's. So why breathing? When we're activated, when we're in a heightened emotional state, our breathing shallows and our respiratory rate increases. At this point, rational thinking, it just goes out the window. So trying to use logic to regain control doesn't work. That's why talking your way out of a state of anger, of stress, or anxiety, it never works. It's unsuccessful. It's because the rational brain is no longer rational. And this is also why it feels like you can't think straight, or you don't have the right words in the moment, or have the right responses, but they later come to you after you've come down, right? After you've come down from that activated state. But here's the key takeaway from all of this. If negative emotions impact our breathing, right? If we become more shallow, upper chest breathers when we're stressed or anxious, then the reverse must also be true. Our breathing can influence our emotional state for the better. So this is really the main point that I want to get across. We can use breathing as a tool to self-manage. If things like guilt and shame restrict breathing, for example, then we can also use breathing to get them unstuck. And I'll talk about that more in future articles within this series. So right now, I want to share 3 simple breathing techniques to reduce anxiety. And there are lots of different breathing techniques out there. Some are designed to activate you, others to deactivate, and others to simply release stuck emotion. We'll cover all of them in this series, but for now, here are 3 breathing techniques you can use to reduce anxiety in the moment. The first is box breathing. And this is a very common technique. Like I said, it's the one that I used during infill that one time. It's very popular, it is effective, but it's not my favorite. I'll share why it's not my favorite in a second. But what you do is just imagine a square, and start on any side, inhale for 4 seconds, or however long, whatever is comfortable. Hold at the top of your lungs for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and then hold your breath out for 4 seconds. It does work, but it's a little challenging to stay engaged in a conversation while you're counting. That's why I don't like it. There's just too many moving parts. The 4-7-8 technique is another one. And you don't have to rigidly adhere to these numbers. The main takeaway with 4-7-8 is to, 1, hold your breath in, and 2, extend the exhale for double the inhale. When you hold your breath, the 7, so what we're doing here is inhaling for 4, holding for 7, and then exhaling for 8. What we're doing when we hold the breath is basically short-circuiting thought forms from entering the mind, because the brain is suddenly like, hey, where's all the oxygen? And what this means is you temporarily stop rumination and engage the parasympathetic nervous system through a prolonged exhale, resulting in greater feelings of calm. And I'll put a link or a video here demonstrating exactly how to do it. The third one is the physiological side. This is my favorite because it's most simple, and it's also very, very effective. Basically, what we're doing is taking a natural response, which is the sigh, and turning it into a trained response to create a calming effect. Why the sigh? Because, well, think of when you're stressed out and what you naturally do. When someone tells you something that you don't want to hear, for example, when you receive bad news, or when you're just feeling overwhelmed, the body lets out a sigh, right? It's like, it naturally goes to the breath. So, well, why does it do that? Because it releases toxins. So what we're doing with the 4-7-8 is taking a natural response, which is the sigh, and turning it into a trained response to induce more calming effects. But why does the body do that? Because the breath helps release toxins. And for any living organism to survive and to stay healthy, it has to eliminate wastes. For humans, 3% of metabolic waste is eliminated through defecation, 7% through urination, 20% through perspiration, and 70% through respiration. So if taking a healthy crap and sweating are important to you, then so too should be breathing. And I'll include a video on how to perform the physiological sigh. Basically, what you're doing is a 2-part inhale. You're going to push the belly out, inhale up into the chest, and then a slow exhale through the mouth. Basically, you want to prolong that exhale as long as possible. That's the key here. The parasympathetic nervous system is engaged through the exhale, sympathetic through the inhale. Anyway, it's been said that how we breathe is how we live. And generally, people who breathe shallowly in their upper chest do so because they're holding on to a lot of tension and unresolved emotion. If this is you, I encourage you to try these techniques. You may also be interested in the bi-monthly breathwork sessions that I host every Sunday, and I'll put a link to that in the notes. As always, thanks for watching, or actually, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.